The popularity of this video game version of Spider-Man is getting up there, especially when you see it in animated feature film movies like Across the Spider-Verse. There's even comics with him or prequels with him in it now. Well, one could say with him and Miles. And with the introduction of, spoiler warning, of the new game, with the introduction of the new Spider character we're going to see probably in the next game, Cindy Moon, we see her at the end of the new game. I just pray and hope in her gameplay in the new game, if she's in Spider-Man 3, that we actually see her actually using webbing constructs, like making her clothes out of web or costumes out of web. I mean, Peter does this kind of stuff in comics of making different constructs with his web. Maybe her gameplay could specialize in this rather than the other gameplay style of Miles and Peter so far. Like the giant web constructs we saw in the game Shattered Dimensions, I hope we see that return in the form of Cindy Moon. It's just a perfect opportunity to add this in to the gameplay. Since in the comics, she's kind of like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man on how the web is literally coming from her body. But that's just wishful thinking. You guys ever wondered how strong Spider-Man from the PS5 with symbiotes? You ever wondered how strong he is? Oh boy. In this universe of Spider-Man and PS5, beginning of this game's event, he's 23 years old. But in this universe, Miles Morales and Peter Parker both exist. Just like comics, they say he can lift up to 10 tons. That's an oversimplification because we see him lift up cranes and stuff that weighs more than 10 tons in the same video. You will see. Spider-Man PS4 is the way to go. He's very strong and fast, very smart, and has quite a bit of lore despite him just being fairly new, one could say. Has a great bit of character evolution or progress. This Spider-Man is quite experienced. But of course, he has the original suit for most of his career, even upgraded to a newer suit, even with prep time, having to do extra suits like the anti-ox suit and more. Just like his comic book self, from time to time, he strays away from his normal suit, gets like different suits, like even a speedster suit in this occasion. But even his standard suits, not necessarily his mechanized type suits, or one could say prep time type suits, is still pretty techy, even in his very basic one. Not even counting the advanced suit. Just his experience, he's had time to develop his super suit over the years. You can get an idea of how he makes all his stuff himself. One of the major gadgets being his web cartridges and stuff you can see in the books here. The stuff he can work on even with a limited budget, so he can get into the police scanners and radios so he can know what's always going on. Kind of like his mask has a built-in cell phone. Not to mention, this is how the inside of his mask look. It's not just a mask, it's literally techie inside of the mask. See how everything is linked to the computer? And apparently his suit has heat shielding, and you can see all the villains he's faced over the years, so he's very, very experienced. Rhino, Vulture. You can even see how it looks on the side of his mask and the hood, yeah. Thanks to his brain, Spider-Man not only has the super suits or suits over the years, he has like a number of different type of weapon or gadgets. Like he has the web bomb, air concussive blast, electric gadgets too. In the new game with his new suit and new tech, he can use these arms along with Miles helping him in this particular situation to shoot electric attacks with his web arms, like a literal blast type of thing. Spider-Bot. Peter in the lore is just smart. He's gotten all kinds of rewards. I mean, I just let him say it for me.
My Wilson Fisk Science Prize trophy. Got some good parts from this old cell phone. Wonder what I could accomplish with a real budget instead of dumpster diving. Use these electrician's gloves in my first fight with Electro. Gave me the idea to add insulation to my costume, which saved my bacon more than once. The jammer I whipped up to jam Vulture's wings. Too bad he improved them after that. My thesis paper on neurotechnology. This got me the job with Dr. Octavius. An Oscorp visitor badge from when I interviewed there.
But Parker, the boy has an eye for guerrilla science like none other. Just as I was ready to order a custom machine replacement part, he returned from the hardware store with a bottle of solvent and a toothbrush. Bang! Actuator problem resolved. The boy is a genius.
He's actually had to use prep and his brain in combat because certain foes, it took multiple tries to actually beat, like Vulture over the years, for example. It stated in his lore that he had to get better over time. But even though this is his signature suit, and even though he's had prep time suits like this, for example, like I already mentioned, this one isn't necessarily something you would call a permanent power suit. Like this is just for that specific fight. Off screen, they're constantly making tech upgrades, and that's what happened in the newer Spider-Man game. He gets a similar looking suit, but it's really the advanced suit, one could say 2.0, and it has some special features. One could say this is one of them, having arms that can come out of his suit at will. You guys know there's a timeline, and through each timeline event, you know, they're doing stuff off screen to improve their already crazy super suits or tech. And this is basically a fan's payoff of what he's been doing behind the scenes, having this just built into his suit. And then, yeah, it lets you know that they talk about their tech, like they've been working on stuff off screen for us fans. But he can do stuff like this to help him out. And when they talk about breaking out the new toys, software patch they talk about, one of the other toys was the web wings they've been working on to help him glide and get some distance. These type of features is what I would call like more on the permanent type of power-ups. I don't see him really losing this stuff unless somebody literally destroys their suit or something, and Peter and them forget how they did this in the first place or something, or lacking resources or something. You see what I'm saying? It's actually crazy smart on how he's able to mix up stuff to make artificial web shooters and such. I mean, just look how his workbench looks. Like, he's always inventing new stuff, him and Miles, so that makes sense. This is actually his workbench in the newer game, so they're always working. And you guys knew this was the treat. This was coming. He has another suit, which is basically an alien. Low-key starts turning him into Venom itself. Spider-Man himself stated that it does give him extra strength thanks to the symbiote. This alien suit actually, one could say, powered up his already crazy physical strength.
There's a lot more strength, a lot more raw power.
He's literally a shapeshifter. Shapeshift, or one could say transform into whatever he thinks of. Like we see him in the suit here, then he can just instantly transform into the black suit. The real noticeable weakness to the suit is that it gives him extra strength. It's just sound messes him up. Let's just say he has sensitive ears in the symbiote suit. One could say this suit can help him touch things he doesn't necessarily want to touch physically. It can kind of extend his range or stretch or push something to make his job easier, right? This suit itself just makes him more dangerous. Having new types of techniques, being able to manipulate tendrils, one could say stretch kinda, because his arm is like an extension. Basically, he can extend his arm to hit you. Like, it can kind of get hard to fight somebody like this because you don't know how or where they're going to attack you. Like, it makes him where he can attack you from any angle, really. Even, one can say, has different stages to where this is the base form of it, but then it evolves to where he gets closer to Venom or becoming a monster, increasing his power and strength in general. This is giving an example of how far away he can hit you from. Or heck, even just grab you from a far distance with these tendrils and be able to murk all y'all at the same time. Yeah, this thing he's wearing is a living thing. Symbiote from outer space. It's an alien that was discovered. The fragment meteor is where they found this suit. Confirmed here, of course. It bonds at the subcellular level with its host. Like, it's one of those situations where he literally got stabbed and was hurt real bad, and it's because of this suit, basically. After it chose him and went on Peter instead, it actually helped Peter not die, or Spider-Man not die, also healing his wound in the process. Like, so it gives him like regenerative capabilities on top of his durability he already has. A great example is how right here on this occasion, his arm was technically broke and the symbiote was actually the thing that actually fixed his arm. So he's Spider-Man with regeneration, but it's one of those situations, as strong as this suit is and how no matter how good it looks, it was making Peter unhero-like. So he had to get rid of this, obviously. And that's when he gets a better alternative. Instead of becoming a butthole, he gets all the symbiote abilities without being a butthole, having an anti-venom suit instead. So one can say whatever he can do before in the black suit, he can do the same stuff with this anti-venom suit. One can even argue even better. Because here's the thing, there was some symbiote left inside of him still. After he got the suit off of him, a villain that had a redemption arc in this game, Martin Lee, gave him his power. One could say this is why Spider-Man had like a power-up. Spider-Man even says it right here. The voices are gone. That would make him a butthole, basically, the symbiote. But he says the power is still there. So one could say this is the alternative for the black suit when it comes to raw power. Not to mention, since Venom was the black suit, of course, this is like anti-Venom. So one could say he has extra strength or boosted strength. Plus, he's like kryptonite for Venom or just symbiotes in general, because these attacks in this form, anti-Venom state, actually do extra damage to the symbiote. This was partly thanks to Martin Lee having this weird ability symbiotes didn't like, help healing Peter's mind, of course, giving him this power-up of being anti-Venom Spider-Man. In a weird way, as far as we know, this is technically a permanent power-up for all we know. I mean, this is the last suit he got at the end of the game. He never lost his suit in the end of Spider-Man PS5, giving his attacks anti-Venom status to symbiote enemies, these aliens that are similar to Venom or the black suit, having an invasion. He's like the opposite of them. They're kryptonite, one could say, causing them extra damage thanks to this anti-Venom suit. This was like the game developers making up for the fact that a lot of players were going to miss having this black suit. So you're just like me when you saw this scene. I was kind of getting sad. I was like, oh no, we're going to lose all our symbiote abilities and we're not going to be able to play as a black suit no more. This is the developer's way of being able to still play with symbiote type of abilities. Wouldn't you agree? Even against ridiculously strong symbiote beings like Venom, he's literally the counter. Because without this suit, I don't think he would be able to get out like this, for example. Like how he's able to do extra damage, looking like he's trying to low-key heal Venom or Harry from the symbiote when he's fighting him here. Like you see this little yellow aura. This is implying he's trying to cleanse him. Like in this occasion right here, he can nullify it every time he tries to take over him. Like there's no exact math to this, but like, look, I look at it like this. Spider-Man is still a symbiote tier in his base state. These two being similar in power. He even confirmed it without the voices, but all of the power. Just don't be surprised if I bring these suits up back and forth throughout this video, you know. even saying so himself that he does have indeed extra symbiote strength when he had these suits on. So yeah, it's like his base form plus extra, but it's vague on how much stronger he got. Did he get 5 times stronger, 2 times stronger? Like, there's really no math to it. Maybe he got 10% stronger. Like, there's really no way to tell the exact number. It's one of them situations where stuff like this you see him do in the black suit. That doesn't mean he can't do this in his base state without the suits when it comes to his super strength. But I'm gonna get back to this in a bit. He's still super strong in base. You get it. I do want to make something clear real quick. Just because Spider-Man does get a symbiote doesn't mean in his base state he can't overpower your standard symbiote. Your standard old symbiote are still not necessarily as strong as a base Spider-Man, I would say. That's why you can see him actually take on multiple symbiotes that are not like the top tier symbiotes. You know what I'm saying? Like literally grabbing these beings and pulling them out the symbiote like that. Like, obviously, there's no exact math to this, but if there was a hierarchy, this is how I would do the power grids when it comes to their raw strength or punching power. Even in his base state, he would still be considered way above your standard symbiote. Even some of your stronger brute-ish type of symbiotes, he would be stronger than. It's not until we talk about the top tiers like Scream or even Venom himself is where he really have his real issues in his base state, I would say. Like, Mary Jane was the host of Scream here. We actually seen him battle Scream, top tier symbiote. I would like to also add that technically Peter's still holding back even against this symbiote because Mary Jane's in there. Like, you see the statement there. Like, there's even points in the fight you actually see him get the upper hand when it comes to his power. Or one could say his just physicals. Like right here, for example. So I'll let you know that he's in that range of power even in his base state. I would say this same concept applies for both Spider-Man being above your standard symbiote. Like this occasion, he one-shotted this symbiote, for example. Miles did, so Peter can do that too. You know, you get the idea. When it comes to his fighting ability, this Spider-Man can actually fight. He's not necessarily like his comic book counterpart getting training from Shang-Chi and stuff. Because in his DLC with Silver Sable, when they was fighting together, they actually briefly talked about how he learned how to fight.
Hey, Sable, where'd you learn to fight? On the street in Symbiote. Yeah? I learned from watching movies. We should compare notes.
So this version of Spider-Man pretty much said he learned from watching movies. That's funny. Somewhere throughout his career, this Spider-Man went through the little wrestling stage, just like the classic 616 did and stuff of that sort. He's fought Kingpin on multiple occasions in his past. Normal enemies just get sent flying because he's too strong. Y'all remember when Hammerhead became a walking tank? And he was stronger than ever before. Spider-Man had to use his strength to literally hold him down temporarily when he had to work together with Sable. Are we going to ignore he had to break one of his mechanical arms? And he was in this, yeah, that strong. Broke Dr. Octavius' mechanical arms. When Lee was in this giant negative form, he kicked him out of the form. A being that can go in your mind and reveal your darkness, still overpowered him anyway. This was like a remake into the comic version, basically all the stuff that happened in the game. To show him do it here, knock him out of it. To show that's actually how it happened in the narrative. This Spider-Man is a force to be reckoned with, fighting different bosses over the years like Kingpin, Shocker, Tombstone, a being that's super durable, Electro, he's fought over the years plenty of time. Vulture, heck, fighting 2v1s with Vulture and Electro at the same time. Even Rhino and Scorpion at the same freaking time. How beast can you get? Yeah. At the same time. Dr. Octopus, after making the anti-Ox suit, fighting him and combating him in combat. To really show his competence to fight his buddy. Even Hammerhead, he be fighting them with his minions, even when he got upgraded to a super cyborg. If you're a normal human, you're just literally fodder. Get murked. Taskmaster even got them hands put on him because he's just that freaking strong. Somebody that has the fighting styles of multiple different heroes. This Taskmaster even proved that he's fought against this universe's version of the Avengers. One could say it's a scuffle, but he did get in a little entanglement with Silver Sable herself, a great fighter also in Marvel. Had to put the paws on her as well. In the new game, we've seen him actually take on the former police officer known as Wraith, Yuri Watanabe. He's physically strong enough to bust open a metal chain door. This is something his tech could do, but his muscles can do this too, either or, lifting all this debris. I mean, they come in handy when he's in situations where he needs an extra set of arms, right? These super techy, high-tech, cybernetic dogs, he has the physical strength in his base form with no symbiotes or nothing to overpower with his raw strength. This is something he can do in his base form, so you know if his base form can rip doors off the hinges, you know this symbiote suit can do it too with ease. Is it really a surprise he can lift cars just like the canon Spider-Man one? Oh, it wouldn't be a Spider-Man game without moving entire vehicles with ease. Speeding trucks, he can stop it by just getting in front of it to stop it with his raw physical. A moving truck during his fight with Mr. Native was able to do that. Yeah, lifted it up off the ground with his vice grip. The show, yeah. Like flipping vehicles in the air like this just seems to be like a normal day in the life for Spider tier type characters. I mean, we know he can lift cars in his base form, so of course his symbiote self can lift cars with ease. Him lifting up a vehicle this big above his head, not only lifting it, but slinging it through a doggone building. Strong enough to stop this helicopter from taking off by using webs to pull with his raw strength. Y'all remember when this train was on the way, he had to literally just move this truck with his raw pulling power or physicals all alone. Is it really a shock he can move stuff like this? No way to tell how much debris this is, but we just know it's a lot, and he's physically strong enough to do this in the beginning of the game anyway. To save the civilian, big chunks of rubble like this, we've seen him actually pull down, or yeah. We're not going to know how he stopped a crane, webbing it here with his strength, pulling it. Roller coaster ride, we can see him lift with one arm. We see him holding it in this angle. Both he grabs with his super strength. The only part that made it difficult is that the thing he was standing on was starting to lose or bend. It's not like he lacked strength. And in this big old crap he had to worry about too with his super strength with the other arm. I mean, let's be honest, he can lift a tank or two above his head if he had to, lifting 60 plus, hundreds of tons, 200 tons. You know, I look at it like this. If his base form self without no symbiote can lift up a tank, then what the heck do you think his symbiote self can do? I would say his symbiote self can even lift a bigger tank above his head. As a bare minimum, right? Notice how he wasn't occupied. He can easily just sling this junk up with ease, really. In the air that far. One can make an argument about how strong his web is. You can get an idea of how strong he is, because he's physically strong enough to hold up a lot of weight, but so is his web. This is probably his most famous one by stopping this falling crane with his web. This is one of the better examples of how strong his web is, how strong he is. We literally seen him hold the grip of the crane too, another crane. Not really a good way to understand how much that crane in Spider-Man PS5 could have possibly weighed, but there's cranes that could weigh up to 400,000 pounds, or one could say 200 plus tons, and etc. You remember this big crap that Harry was holding up by himself when, you know, when he was Agent Venom for a little bit? Venom. Spider-Man's web can help support this weight, letting you know how strong Spider-Man's web is. Like, I want you guys to see how big this bull crap is. Like, this big piece of, yeah, all of this was falling. It's that big. And his web can help support this kind of stuff. It kind of gives you an idea of Spider-Man's raw lifting strength too, because his web is stuff he can break out of, he himself. We've seen him pull big stuff like this. I'm talking about thick chunks of metal. He can just yank with his super strength, so they can help him work together to pull Tombstone out of this cage that was super strong, along with Agent Venom helping him, of course. And don't even try to break out of the web. Like, yeah. Are we just going to ignore that he was still getting punched through a big vault door like that? He just shrugged that crap off, fighting Shocker. And guess who incapacitated Shocker? Spider-Man did. Because he's strong like that. Peter, he withstood being rammed through multiple building-sized explosions like this. His raw speed, even without his speedster suit, is still insane. An entire building of people shooting at him can't land one freaking hit on this guy from Wilson Fisk's tower. Even skilled fighters like Sable, who I would say were probably a super soldier, basically, because you know how comics is. She's able to dodge all this gunfire just from shooting. She couldn't even hit him once. This is probably like a mixture of spider sense mixed with just plain old-fashioned reflexes, how he caught that arrow mid-flight and dodges all this. Catches this mid-flight and throws it back. It's little moments like this where all of this BS is happening. You can get an idea of their fighting speed, being able to avoid stuff while going through tunnels and stuff. Reflexes. He's one of those characters, it's hard to catch him off guard. Even when by surprise, he still can kind of dodge attacks like he did here. It's really hard to hit him. Like, this is him with the black suit. So, yeah, he's obviously stronger than he usually would be. But you see his reflexes mixed with his spider sense to be able to catch this mid-flight using his tendrils via black suit and stuff. Via spider sense to be able to dodge this knife attack here. Just like comics, one of his main villains is Electro. He can dodge his lightning with his fighting speed. Not to mention handling a 2v1 with Electro and Vulture at the same freaking time. This is kind of similar to 616 comics on how he can dodge Electro's attack because of his ridiculous fighting speed. If Electro's lightning is anything like real lightning, that would mean he can react to things coming at him at 200,000 miles per hour. This could partly be due to the fact he knows where it's about to go before he hits because of his spider sense, or it could be just that fast too. I mean, he has to be fast, right? You gotta remember he's fast enough to dodge rockets, dodging gunfire just on another day. Fighting speed to where before they can shoot their rocket launchers, he's agile enough in this occasion with Electro, speed-wise, able to do all that and blitz him that way. His spider sense helps him have better combat speed. Speedster suit, it's a suit that augments his speed to react to a speedster's speed so they can fight each other via blitz. With this suit that he made, even the odd pretty much moves like a speedster. Think about how fast this speedster has to be, considering in his space state he can still react to lightning. She's too fast for a being that can react to lightning, so he had to get a suit like this. They're probably moving massively faster than lightning at this point. Think about it, this Spider-Man's already fast enough to react to lightning speeds like I already showed in this video of him fighting Electro. He needed a suit to combat against this same being. For him to need this to keep up with her. They fight moving up buildings as a blur. Them running through burning buildings. The fire doesn't even have time to burn. They're moving so quick. Because they're moving too fast, it can't really burn you. You know you're fast. Look at this mess. All of this, they move so fast that normal people can't see them or hear them. Don't forget, in the velocity suit is webbing. It restrained this speedster. And don't forget, technically caught up to the speedster, letting you know this velocity suit is just crazy. Call him Iron Man 2.0. I mean, he did upgrade the velocity suit one time when it got overloaded. Don't forget, he's had other suits like this that kind of adds to his durability. Well, technically, the velocity suit adds to his durability too because it's bulletproof. Even hits from RPGs, the velocity suit can withstand. But this other suit allows him to eat a crowbar without even flinching. The velocity suit was built for the speedster. Super expanding fire extinguishing foam does the job to restrain this speedster. Oh yeah, he can speak underwater. During this fight with Mr. Negative, yes, there is implications. This is a reference to the Spider-Man 2 movie, but it's implied that somewhere down his universe, in this universe, he stopped the train as well, because when he attempted to do it here, he actually kind of mentions it. Using his webs and everything to try to get the leverage, to try to do this.
Last time.
And on this occasion with the train, these big old tracks, he's able to pull up the tracks itself to make the train launch up while holding all this weight up, thanks to his webs and his physicals put together to be able to do that. This helicopter was totally going to hit the ground if it wasn't for Spider-Man's web. Part of this is thanks to experience, because there's no way he'll be able to figure this out this quickly in the heat of time. You can tell he's done this before. The beings that he has to fight, like Electro, these big old smokestacks, he can ram into all of that and break it. That's like on some building shattering type stuff. Spider-Man's able to counter this regardless of it. Show his strength like that, and Electro can't just push him off of him. I mean, you got moments like this facing Electro would imply that if this Spider-Man was put in the right situation, his punches, if he wanted to just cause property damage, could punch down stuff like this in his base form, implying this is the kind of damage his punches could cause if he's not careful. I'm gonna give you a visual on these smokestacks that he technically should be able to break down, just like Electro can break down. Like, these junks are not small. That's a lot of punching power that him and his villains have to endure against each other or one another, different angles of it. You get what I'm saying? A classic Spider-Man villain in the comics known as Sandman, he exists in this universe too. Sandman actually gets stronger the more sand he's around, for example. If he's near a beach or a place with a lot of sand, he can get stronger or bigger. They even sound worried. What happens if he gets all that sand? And he just did. I mean, it was literally stated right here, for example, he's getting bigger. Like, yeah, he can get stronger with more sand. They even confirmed it in the lore. Marco's storm, Sandman's storm, is generating a lot of electricity. Like right here, for example, he's literally the size of buildings. We've seen other Spider characters that have similar powers to him. Miles, of course, somebody he actually trained and mentored. We've seen them. This is something Peter should also be able to do, but we've seen him actually use debris, use his web in combination to actually stagger beings that are literally building size like Sandman. Something that Peter can definitely do as well, if he was in the same situation and wanted to, or if the writers wanted to show him do it. I mean, I know this is gameplay, but there's little moments like this that kind of show that he could do the same as what Miles was doing when it comes to staggering beings like this size, like Sandman. And if he couldn't do what Miles can do when it comes to staggering him, why in this scene, you literally see him ball up his fist against Sandman, heading towards him despite the massive size difference, implying that the size is not intimidating Spider-Man. Like, you literally see him attempting to punch, implying that, yeah, he can do the same thing what Miles did. Like, you literally see him trying to punch. He just so happened to get struck by lightning, and that's what stopped him. I mean, they're literally fighting a being that can take a piece of a building, like, and just grab it like this, for example. Like beings that are literally building size. We've seen him get punched by beings that are this big. Fighting Sandman is like saying if a building had arms and legs and was trying to punch you and crap. Like, it's already crazy that his base form already could technically stagger building-sized structures or even tilt them over with his punches. Literally fighting a building-sized being with his punches or kicks being able to basically hit beings that are building size and actually stagger them. You're thinking they can't punch hard enough to make a building tremble or make a building topple over by punching out the support pillars and nothing. They can't do that, right? That's what you think, right? Because every punch they do, if they could punch this hard, they should be punching humans' heads off. Well, they should. Craven said it best, is that Spider-Man holds back. Even when he's in this possession of this black suit, it's just like Spider-Man just has a moral compass. Like, even in the black suit, there's a part of him that still holds back a lot when it comes to not killing. So that could be your answer on why he just doesn't punch everybody's heads off. There's proof he holds back, just like how he knocks out those humans with ease. But when he punches Craven, he didn't put enough power behind it. And that's when Craven got the jump on him. Because he punched or kicked with enough force to one-shot beings like this, but Craven's way above these beings. So when he tried to use the same force against somebody like Craven, somebody that's way stronger than his henchman, that wasn't enough force, and that gave Craven the jump he needed to get the jump on him, because Spider-Man holds back too much. Even with the black suit raging him out, he still says, you still hold back. What's making you not want to fight or kill? Like, Spider-Man always holds back. Like, that's his problem. You see why Spider-Man has to hold back all the time? He has all this kind of strength. He has to be careful punching humans. He can't just be hitting everybody with thousands of tons of force. Taskmaster even said he holds back too much. Spider-Man doesn't want to kill him. He's kicked like Scorpion's butt a few times, but the hunters say yet he always held back. Like, Spider-Man literally holds back too much. Because, of course, Spider-Man does not want to kill him. Let's be happy the game's Spider characters didn't have to fight Sandman in the Sahara Desert like the 616 did, where he became godlike, where water wouldn't even work against him like this. You can get an idea of how deadly Sandman is by all this sand or destruction he's causing. It's crazy because they consider this being Sandman as a citywide emergency. And Spider-Man was awfully confident he could punch him here before getting swiped away. So, I mean, you guys already know Spider-Man has different foes he faces, like Lizard. We actually seen him fight him in the black suit. However hard he can punch like this in the red suit, he can punch even harder like this with black suit. He can do better when it comes to raw strength. You can kind of get an idea of Spider-Man's raw strength by how strong the opponents he has to face, like Lizard. Despite the size difference, try to hit him, he can stop his strikes. This is important because we literally seen him overpower him here and even lock his arms down to the ground like this. Get down with his super strength and tendrils until he used his weakness against him. So not just Sandman type characters, but Lizard can also hit ridiculously hard. And this is what Spider-Man has to fight and overpower. Just look at this piece of this building right here, for example. We've seen him easily obliterate all this steel and stuff is broken because of him. And we've seen him overpower him here and push him back here with his super strength until he used the weakness again. You see what I'm saying? Keep your eye on Lizard. Look what he does to this building. Like, he just go through all of that. And you see that? He just did that with ease. These tanks, for example, trying to slow him down. And we've seen the Lizard strong enough to move all of that. Spider-Man dodges, of course. This kind of gives you an idea of Spider-Man and Lizard's durability and how much they can withstand. Like, this was a long fall. Spider-Man and Lizard both survived going through the pavement. They got hit so hard, he actually went all the way down to the sewer area again. The Lizard get hit so hard that the pillars in the area can break from his strikes. Spider-Man can damage him significantly and charge him blow for blow. Look, all this destruction the Lizard did, all that debris he can carve through. The Lizard can with his strength. And this is another example of all the stuff he's like literally burrowed through. I mean, it was even stated by Peter that he burrowed through a decommissioned subway line here. Yeah, even characters that are not Sandman, his villains in general can just level buildings, or probably more than one at this point. Like, look at all this damage. And we've seen Spider-Man in the black suit do this to him and overpower him, putting his arms down with multiple tendrils, enough to inject him with the antidote. In his symbiote state, it'll probably feel like a building, or one can say multiple buildings falling on your face at this point if he hits you. Or one can say it will feel like a building and a tank landing on it. Extra force, thanks to how hard he can punch. So if his standard not raged out black suit is this strong, imagine what this state is. He's getting closer to being like Venom himself. So of course this one's even stronger. When you see what he does to the environment, like Peter was literally asleep right here, but like look what he's doing to the like place. All this with his striking power. I already mentioned how there's a hierarchy. I would say this is how the hierarchy would look with Anti-Venom, Spider-Man with his new suit, quite a bit stronger than characters like Scream. When earlier I showed he was kind of close to her, you know what I mean? Wouldn't necessarily say he's equal to Venom, because the way this video game portrayed Venom was kind of crazy. It's like it took both the Spider-Mans to fight him. Despite the writers wanting Venom to seem like he's stronger than him just from physical, Spider-Man did a very good job fighting him, thanks to partly because of the anti-Venom being able to kind of cause extra damage, because he's like his kryptonite kind of, sort of. So yeah, he does pretty well against him, even though Venom did physically show his superiority over Peter, even with this anti-venom suit still in a one-on-one fight. It was so bad to the point where Peter was literally knocked out. He was asleep and Miles had to fight him. I mean, cut him some slack. He was fighting a venom being, a being that was so strong, he was able to use his tendrils and connect it with the outside tendrils, symbiote stuff on the outside, to lift up the entire school and even the football stadium. Yeah. I mean, his base state can already tremble a building, knock over a building or two buildings. Man, what the heck can these higher symbiote states do, like this one, for example? Man, this dude probably could collapse, or one could say, an entire city block with his new symbiote powers, anti-venom powers, being able to make long tendrils. He would definitely be able to wipe out multiple buildings. He can just make tendrils as long as a building and then just collapse the support beams easily or something. I mean, obviously certain buildings vary in size. Considering we literally seen him fight somebody, take an attack from a being that's literally a building-sized being. We've seen him withstand attack, or even implied he could stagger beings that big in his base form. Who's to say he couldn't punch down a skyscraper building or some crap in this anti-venom symbiote out state? Venom was a monster in this game, though. It took a team effort to take this guy down, even though he had anti-venom suit that helps nullify or cause extra damage to symbiote like his kryptonite. These beings are so strong, Peter included, being so strong that this church, or you see this building they're on, Venom is pulling with so much force, Peter also pulling with a lot of force sticking to it. They was literally able to break that. Like, yeah, no building is safe. I mean, here's the thing. Yeah, mountains can get kind of crazy, but like maybe he could mess up some smaller mountains, because you see how big buildings are compared to certain, like mountains are gigantic. So maybe he can mess up like a nice chunk of a mountain or a big portion of it, if that makes sense, right? Definitely can level multiple buildings, I would say, with ease, especially since he technically got a symbiote permanent power up. Strong fighters like Kraven, we've seen him completely overpower physically here to where Kraven couldn't do nothing back with the black suit. But guys, that's just about going to do it. This Spider-Man is scary strong, even though there's certain characters he couldn't overpower, like straight up, he just couldn't straight up overpower Venom. In a one-on-one, it took the both of them, even though it has status effects that actually cancel out symbiotes and give them extra damage. But regardless of that, he's still ridiculously strong. Even if he's not strong than every single person we've seen in the game, he still has to be strong to even be able to hang with them that long. Just compared to every other symbiote, not including Venom, he was stronger than every other one. Stronger than Scream, base form. So his symbiote form is stronger than her by quite a bit, you know. Do you think he's going to end up giving his suit to Harry to heal him? They got to find a way for Norman to go insane and go Green Goblin so Harry might not get saved or something. You know, trust me, your face does not want to collide with this Spider-Man's fist. But before I get going, I got to say thank you to the donators. It helps out a lot. Respect, Spider-Man, PlayStation 5. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.